is your beef with the Bible? What is your beef with the Quran? What is your beef with these religions that you see our people going through today? Even Hebrew Israelites. Talk about that.
Okay. Well, my beef with religion is this, and this question has been asked for a while. I think, Brother Sai, in fact, you probably brought this out on your platform. How can you subscribe to a doctrine that was taught to you by your former oppressors? How does that actually make sense to subscribe to a doctrine that was taught to you, given to you by your oppressors? Christianity, Brother Sai, is not an indigenous African religion. If it wasn't, and I can prove this to you by sharing this with you. I don't know if your audience is familiar with the Dumb Verses that were, it was actually a proclamation, or they call it a papal bull, that was produced by Nicholas V. There was also a papal bull that was produced by Alexander IV called the Intercaetera. And these papal bulls allowed the Portuguese to go over to Africa and to the New World, brutalize and colonize the people based on the fact that they weren't Christians. They were called pagans. So these papal bulls were written in Latin, but they do have English translations of them, Brother Sai, where the church sanctioned slavery. They said, go over to Africa, brutalize them, colonize them, invade them, because they're not Christians. So Christianity is not a religion. It also says in the oh my goodness, in the British Museum, that Nubia, they have some artifacts showing that Nubia and Egypt were forcibly converted to Christianity. They were forcibly converted to Christianity. So, brothers and sisters, this isn't a Christianity isn't a doctrine that's indigenous to Africa. Islam came with the Arabs. The Arabs actually enslaved the Africans prior to the Europeans, and this doctrine came with them. So, Brother Sai, my beef is that first of all, I'm not going to subscribe to a doctrine that is promoted and handed to me by my former oppressor. And secondly, it's myths. They're stories, Brother Sai. In the Bible, you know, they talk about all of these different characters, and I'm going to call them characters because that's exactly what they are. They don't have any archaeological evidence even showing that these people existed. I mean, in First Kings and in First Chronicles, you read about these stories of King David and how he battled all of these different tribes, and he won. And then you had King Solomon. He was supposedly had expanded his kingdom. But where's the evidence of this? Because we see evidence of Tutmosis III in museums, where in museums with Stella showing all of his great accomplishments. We see that written. We see our stories written in Medjugorje, in pyramid texts, coffin texts. So we see our story. But where is the story? Where is the evidence that the Hebrews were ever enslaved in Egypt? Where is the evidence? Where's the evidence of King Solomon? It says in the Bible that Solomon had 700 wives and 300 concubines. Where's his bloodline, Si? If he had 1,000 women, where's his bloodline today? He should have an existing bloodline today. Right, 1,000 women and all of those children, and you can't produce a bloodline? Or how about this, Brother Sai? Moses supposedly wrote the first 5 books of the Bible. Where is his handwriting? I can go over to Egypt right now and look at the handwriting of our ancestors carved on the pyramid walls. So where's the handwriting of Moses? It says in the New Testament that Paul wrote all of these epistles, these letters to Timothy and to the church of Corinth. Where are these letters? Can we see his handwriting? Where is it? And we can dig a little deeper, Brother Sai. We can even talk about the King James translators and how it says in the Bible that the Bible was inspired. What does it say in the Bible? That it was created or produced by men inspired by God. I think that's what it says in the Bible. But in fact, it was King James and about 47 to 54 translators who decided to come up with another version of the Bible. And they did not, and I'm going to say this, I feel like it's erroneous, Brother Sai, to even call it a translation, because when you think of a translation, you take something out of one language and you put it into another. Is that correct? But in the British Museum, there, I think it's called, there's a document called the 21 Rules of Translation, and it has the handwriting of Richard Bancroft. And these were rules that the translators had to follow in order to translate the Bible. And one of the rules were that they had to stay as close to the bishop's Bible as possible. So they did not translate the Bible from the original Hebrew. Okay, what they did was they took pre-existing material and they massaged it. So that's my beef, Brother Sai, with the Bible, and you know that's my field as well. I'm an engineer, but you know I like to study the evolution of religion, and Christianity is definitely something I've been studying for a while. So I can go on and on and on, but we will be here for another